Hey everyone, it's the Stock Pick Profits Market Update. It's Friday, June 15th, 2018. Kind of a weird market day today, huh? And it's Friday, so everybody wants to start the weekend. Let's get the show started. Let's start off with talking about the news cycle. So the news cycle, trade wars galore, right? China firing back at Trump, with the new tariff list, with the few $1 billion worth of tariffs, and it's just a back and forth going on the trade wars. Everything's just kind of the table's kind of being set on that, and lines are being drawn, and then we'll kind of move forward on it. Is it a trade war? Isn't it a trade war? I guess it is. I mean, really, it's gotten to quite a battle, but we don't know what's going on behind the table, behind those closed doors. So we'll kind of wait and see how it plays out, right? The market kind of took it a little rough this morning with that list that China put out and started down about 200 points. So we're, excuse me, we're seeing how that plays out when we go into the next week. And we kind of set back today. We have some plays on the table. We've been talking about the last few days. We've been setting up positions. We had a big week. We cashed in a lot of gainers. We had a couple 100% gainers. We had a 262% gainer. Pretty much back to normal for the program. The other thing in the news cycle is the IG report. This is the Department of Justice report. And this is getting to be this is telling you more about our politicians than it is about the Department of Justice. Everybody's kind of just taking sides on this on party lines. It's very partisan. It doesn't matter. Nobody's looking at it objectively. And it's going to be like everything else. It's going to be a big Twitter battle, which is right now. All these politicians and celebrities are waging war on Twitters, and then some other news thing will come out and it'll all be forgotten. Another big thing right now, Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is calling for 4% growth on the GDP, which is huge. Trump was talking about that in the past, right? And it looks like if Trump's programs are starting this huge economic growth, the markets are pushing real nice right now. Today was a little soft day, but for the most part, it was a good up week. The market's up about 4% for the year now. Just a couple weeks ago, we were actually down 2%. So it's been a nice recovery in the markets. Hope you all made some money on this last recovery after those big sell downs and stuff. And remember, the last sell down started those in April when we had those big market sell downs. Those were all based on the trade wars, right? The verbiage that was coming out, and we were rolling into the G7. We were about a month away from the G7, and things just kind of went downhill. We had a couple 700, minus 700, 800, 200 market days. But the market looks like it's shaking that off. And, that trade war, now that we've gotten through that big weekend, right? We had the G7, then we had the North Korean summit. Now that's kind of washed through the news cycle, guess what? Now the trade war is coming back to the front face. Then you throw in that IG report. It's an interesting reading for the weekend, but not much else. Let's talk about what we like going forward. We still have a gold hedge, and we're going to keep that in there. Gold was down about $21 today. But we're going to keep that gold hedge in there because there's a lot of stuff going on in this geopolitical theater that could really go south. One of them, and this is getting almost no play on the media, and this just shows you how irresponsible and what a disservice the media does to us investors. What I'm talking about is Germany. Germany's going through some very, very politics-based fights right now with Merkel and this underparty that's coming up, and it's all over immigration and migration. But there's a big, big, big thing brewing in Germany, and we're not hearing anything about, very, very little about it. And that's the disservice that your media is doing to us investors. And whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you should be upset about this if you're an investor, because look, IG reports, trade wars, all this stuff. He said, she said on Twitter, that's all fun fodder. But really, what we're looking for is things that are going to make us money in the stock market. Imagine if Germany goes into disarray. I mean, you see how a little country like Greece or a little country like Italy can throw the U.S. markets into a tailspin, right? Imagine some unrest in Germany and stuff, So we'll keep an eye on that. You heard it here first, probably. Now, let's look at some other stuff. We're short the dollar. A lot of people are long the dollar right now. That's a crowded play. We're a little contrarian on this, but we think there's some headwinds coming for the dollar. We talked about, we went short on UUP. It's been struggling with that $25 level, and that's what we've been watching. We think $25 is a ceiling on that. So look, if you're looking to play along with us, that's one of the plays we're making right now. We've got a gold hedge out to, I believe, August, and then we just shorted the dollar. We just started that trade out. We are long financials. They're our usual. We like Bank of America for the big banks. We talked about it. We talked about it a couple shows ago. One of our favorite regional banks is Huntington Bank Shares, HBAN. So if you're interested in a regional bank, all your big brokerages, your Goldmans and stuff like that, are saying that the regionals are actually the play this time. So, and they might be right, but we like to cover all bases. So we've got a little play in Bank of America, and we've got a little play that's been going on for a while with Huntington Bank. We also have owned Huntington Bank for a couple years. Way back when this bank move started. So that kind of reviews the market. Let's get right to the questions and the comments. Let's go ahead and talk about that. Jesse. Hey, Jesse, I think this is the first time you showed up for the show. Huh? Welcome. Jesse is a member of our service, and Jesse actually has been around for a while. So he actually was with the service when we went through that April. So he can tell you all about pain and suffering and all that. Look, nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect in stock picking. We talked about that yesterday. About 96% of the people that trade options fail. So when you, in a year that the market is up now 4%, you're up 55%. I think that's pretty good. So, but there's lessons you learn along the way. It's the patience. It's the having a program, having a investing plan that you follow that's proven to work and stuff. And we have all that stuff. So, So Jesse, welcome to the show. Anybody have any questions out there? We were going to talk a little bit about one of our viewers, Sever, good friend. We were going to talk a little bit about covered calls, and covered calls are like with Savar. He has some shop that he owns at about $89, right? And so he wants to protect that. It's at a nice profit right now. And we always talk about options, and you guys know we're an options house. So, we know all the complicated ways to play options, straddles, condors, butterflies, all that stuff. But look, why get so complicated? You know what I mean? Then you're working too hard. We use covered calls, and that's what most people use. And the reason is they're simple and they're easy to use. Now, we're going to go into the details on specific covered calls with Savar because he's a member. But, just for you viewers out there, don't forget, man, if you guys got, couple hundred shares of a really good stock and you want to kind of protect those profits, covered calls are the way to do it. And as we progress over the weeks and the months and the years, we'll talk more about it, but the covered calls are always the easiest way to go. Snap. Nick, we just made a bunch of money on Snap. And we actually had some $18 calls just in case. We had some lotto calls. And those expired today worthless, but we had those in there because of this new platform. And the reason is, you remember with the when they had the conference call, just before we got into the play that we hit the 132 and then we hit a 262% gainer on Snap. Just before that, they did that big platform change. And what's her name? Khloe Kardashian, one of the sisters of Kim. I guess she's a big user. She's got like 7 million followers on the platform. And she came out and said it was, and the stock just went to the crapper. But now that's an opportunity, right? And we're actually looking for another play on Snap. We cashed those options out at the big 262% gain. But we're looking for another play on Snap, maybe during a little pullback. It's had about 4 or 5 straight days up. So maybe we'll look for a little break in the action and then set up some options. Plus, too, remember, today was witching day, so we had big monthly expirations today. So generally, you don't want to buy options, set up new contracts on witching day. It's better to wait for the Monday and the week, the coming. You get a little bit better pricing on the premiums. What happens is you have the 2 days of time decay, Saturday and Sunday, and then on top of it, you might have some price action because witching brings some strange market action. So it's better to wait till Monday, Tuesday. So that what we're doing at SPP is the team's going to take a look at Snap over the weekend and see if we can find some buy levels and stuff like that. It might be, though, look, there's a huge short interest in Snap right now, a massive short interest in Snap right now. And that's why we kept those 18s. We could have actually caught them. We could have actually cashed out a little less of a loss, but we didn't want to, we bought the lottery ticket. We might as well wait for the numbers to be called. But we 11 out of 12 days. It's been quite a run, huh, Nick? And we've been in it because we made all those money on those calls, but the continuation, like we said, there's a massive short interest in that. So we want to keep an eye on it because at some point it's probably going to break and it's going to make a big break to 16, 17, 18, maybe even $20, right? The stock can move fast. And if on a short squeeze with a stock like Snap, man, that thing will just go to the moon. But you don't want to get into early. You don't want to get into late. It's kind of a timing thing right now. And plus, we made all that money on it last week. So we kind of just, relax over the weekend and we'll find another play. But you're right. It's been about 11 out of 12 days. It's been green, man. The stock's really starting to catch fire. So, yeah, keep your ears open, Nick, because I believe you're a member too. So we'll be looking at Snap over the weekend, probably when we do our big Sunday research as a team. We come in on Sunday to get ready for Monday, and we'll take a look at Snap. And we'll talk more about it in the group over the weekend. So, hey, Jesse, did you have any questions, Jesse, or you got more, Nick? If you want to ask anything else, Snap is a fun stock, man. It's been a fun stock. And it's been a really, really good opportunity. And that's a good point, Nick, that with your question about this question, what do you think about Snap? A lot of big talk with the new platform. That's a good question, and the reason is canines. You got me confused on that one. I'm not sure if you can expound on that, Jesse. I'll be glad to answer it. But back to your question that was so good, Nick, about what do we think about the Snap platform change? If you're paying attention and you're watching Snap, you would have seen this whole story develop, right? You had the bad earnings report and the stock kind of tanked, and at the same time you had that Khloe Kardashian with her tweet about how bad the new platform was, and I guess that upset 7 million people. That was her subscribers, and then that kind of just crashed it even more. Well, that set the table for a big recovery, right? All Snap had to do was go in and fix that platform, and then all of a sudden everybody's happy and they're buying it again, right? Well, all those people that took up those big short positions while that was happening, because look, it made sense, right, on the short trade. At that time, Khloe Kardashian, who's a massive public name, especially in social media, came out against it. It is probably prudent to set up shorts right there around that 12. At that time, it was trading at about $13, $14 when those earnings came out. And it just made sense to take up short positions. But now we're kind of at that inflection point. And we think that $14 is that inflection point. We think a lot of people came in at that $13.50, $13 range. And once it gets to that $14 spot, the squeeze starts and people start bailing. You're in at $12.68. Oh, yeah, you own the stock. Hey, pay attention. Jesse, I'm going to get to that right in a second. That's good. Pay attention when we're working. We'll add this one to the conversation, Nick, on the covered calls, because we'll talk to you about some covered calls you can set up to protect this too. Snap's a good stock to do that. We'll show you a little trick to it too. So we'll talk about that over the weekend within the group. Now, listen, as a disclaimer, nothing on this show is a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Past performance is no guarantee of future performance. Always consult a professional. This is not financial advice. This is entertainment. Okay. Let's see. This will make you guys all laugh too. So I thought it was K9, our cannabis picks. Yeah, our cannabis picks. Right now we have 2 cannabis picks on the table. One, most people know we're in CNAB, United Cannabis. We like that. It's a turnkey operation with some real good products, and they've got and they're building and expanding a website which actually helps people pick which opioids or cannabis products, CBDs, fit their symptoms and their problems the best. If you have a chance to go look at their website and stuff, it's a fantastic story. United Cannabis. We just added a new marijuana pick, but we're not going to tell everybody the symbol on that because we're still buying it as a service. So, you guys pay for the subscription, so you get in first. But we do have 2 going on right now. Now, the cannabis story, everybody's kind of expecting it to overnight just blow up, but it's a work in progress. And I'll tell you guys a story about GGP. GGP, way back when it was the number 2 REIT in the country, it owned Ala Moana Shopping Center, which is one of the biggest outdoor shopping centers in the world. It owned a bunch of prime property around that area. And also, too, on the mainland, it had a lot of good investments. Well, the company went upside down. It actually went bankrupt. And that was the play. And we made massive amounts of money on that. This is way back, 1999, 2000. And what happened was, it was kind of like the marijuana play. You could see the play. You knew how it was going to turn out, but it just took time to develop. Like we were buying GGP, we bought it down the ladder from, at one point it was like 37 cents. And it was delisted, and we were still buying it. And a lot of people that were involved with us were like, oh, how long are we going to sit in this? Well, we ended up sitting in it a year and a half, 2 years. But to date, it's brought back 28,000%, I believe. They just had an article on CNBC about GGP. It was the stock of the century. So, and we just got bought out. A lot of us still have some shares and stuff. So that's how the cannabis play is going. Things got to work through. We talked about it. Elizabeth Warren, she's introduced this legislation. Legislation takes time to work through. Trump is starting to give endorsements, talking about how he's pro marijuana and stuff, and he's cool with it. What hurt marijuana this year was in January. You see, in December and the beginning of January, the marijuana stocks were starting to pick up. That's because Canada was legalizing it. A lot of states that haven't legalized it yet were getting it on the board. And so things were starting to develop. Then Sessions came out and made that stupid statement. The federal government's still going to prosecute. Sessions, man. He's such a... God, he must be terrible at parties. Trump should have fired him a long time ago. But, he came out and made that statement, and it just took the wind out of it. And if you look at all the marijuana stocks, the price decline hasn't been because of selling. If you look at the volume on the bottom, it's just nobody's buying right now. And that's just because there's no sizzle in the sector right now. It's not in the forefront. It's kind of a play that the smart money's making right now. And that's the way we feel, is the smart money right now is positioning in the best marijuana stocks. It's kind of like way back when Microsoft and Apple and all those Hot Topic and those were up and coming. Sometimes there'd be sizzle in the sector with the technology. Nobody really understood it. Most companies didn't even have websites yet. But the sizzle was kind of out of it, and the smart money was buying these stocks, the Apples, the Microsofts, even Amazon. I remember when for about a year, the big argument against Amazon was it'd never make money, right? It'd never turn a profit. You're buying a company that never turned a profit. Well, look at it now. The smart money back then was buying, and the same thing with the cannabis right now. It's time to accumulate. It's time to find and get a good position, not just a couple hundred shares. You want to, over maybe a couple months, you want to have 10,000 shares of this. You know, you want to have a nice hold. And that's why we keep telling our members, you know, we hit a snap play where you make 262%. Hey, take a few bucks and accumulate a little bit more of the marijuana. It's still in the price range, and that's why we release the pick now, so everybody's got plenty of time to buy it. Every time you make $1,000, take 200, throw it in the marijuana play, put the other 800 back to work, right? And that's what's going on with it. So, and don't worry about it, Jesse. I saw Canine, and I thought, I don't know. Maybe you're calling the pics a dog. Oh, Jesse. What's happened to us, Jesse? And that's what the latest is on those. So you guys just kind of keep up with it. It's the sizzle is coming back into it, but that damper was put in by Jeff Sessions on that January day. And like I said, it's not that people are selling it's not that people are selling marijuana stocks right now. It's just they're not buying. So, but you see little blips, and that's us smart money coming in there and accumulating. So, hey, Roland is one of our oldest subscribers, man. Welcome, Roland. Marco, one of our newest subscribers. Welcome, Marco. Hope you're having fun already, man. Savar, we were just talking about you, Savar. We're not going to repeat it because we don't want to say it to your face. Anyways, how about United Cannabis? Also in a buy range. This is what we like. As long as it is under this, we are buyers. Okay. And again, that is not an offer to buy or sell any securities. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing with it. We're under $2 as long as it's under $1.25. I think it's at 89 cents right now, dude. I mean, it's we're still buying. We still have portfolios we are still buying for, and we're just doing like what we were talking about. Every time we make a play and we make 100%, 200%, what we're doing is we're just taking a percentage of that and rolling it into either United Cannabis, or right now we're trying to build a nice position of the new stock pick. So the second stock pick, and we're not going to release that symbol in the show because that's for you guys, the subscribers. Okay. So if you want to be in that play, you got to click that link. Okay. Now, just like the covered calls, Savar, we were mentioning, I'm just joking about, you're not hearing what we're saying about you. What we're talking about, Savar, is actually, I believe it's Nick. Nick has some snap shares in the same position you are with Shop. He has some snap shares at $12.68. I think it pushed $14 today, right? I closed a little bit below that. But the same way we're going to talk to you over the weekend about covered calls for your Shop, we're gonna help Jesse out or Nick with some covered calls on his Snap too. So we can do that as a group in our private group. Now remember, that's the thing. If you want this kind of help from people that have been trading the market 35, 40 years successfully, you click the link, and that's as much of a sales pitch as you're going to get. If you want it, come get it. If you don't, that's fine. Nick Carson 14. Oh, did it close at 14.17? Yeah, and those we put out that Friday review, so we weren't watching the last 5 minutes of the market, so we haven't checked what they closed at. 14.17. Told you that short squeeze is starting to take effect. So like we said, we're going to take a look at this on Sunday, and we're going to see, because there's got to be a play in here. We'd like to see a little pullback, a little softening, maybe at least to like 1350 or something. But we got to look at the chart and see where the technicals are sitting. And you got to remember too, I mean, that's what, Nick, that's 11 out of 12 days up, closed at the high of the day on a Friday when the market was struggling. That's a very, very bullish stock. So there's a play in there, and we're going to find it. And we'll find it on Sunday. But we also want to make sure, Nick, that we find you those covered calls, because you want to get in those Monday or Tuesday, because when there's a big price acceleration in the stock. We're going to show you a trick over the weekend because shop looks like it might be moving too, Savar. So we want you to have this information going into Monday in case you want to take up these positions, because there's a way to capitalize on this with covered calls that you can double dip. You double dip with the stock you hold and you double dip with the options, the covered calls. Yeah, I guess. Oh, it closed at 1403. That's what we've been waiting for too, Nick. The trade team, we've been talking about it all week. If we can get a close above 1403, that's we're at our trigger point. So let's see how the weekend goes, and let's see what the news flow is for. We need to go research it. We want to make a logical pick on that. But that's good stuff, man. You own that stock at $12, Nick. You hold on to that, man. It's Snap gets a lot of bad press. It's in a very competitive arena with the WhatsApp, and I guess Instagram has a version now, and the big boys are all in that arena. So it's a difficult arena to compete in, especially for an independent, a standalone like Snap, right? When you have to compete against something that's developed by Google or Facebook with all that money that they can throw into the research and development. So Snap's a nice little company. We'll go take a look at it, but I think there's definitely a play in there. And yeah, Sever, definitely rewatch the clip, because in the beginning we were talking a little bit about covered calls, but the details, Sever, we'll talk about in the group. Tala's here all the way from North Shore, Hawaii. Welcome, Tala. As you guys show up, man, just post where you're from, and we'll address it. We're of course in Kalihi, Hawaii right now. Beautiful day, a little bit overcast. They said the fog might roll in this weekend, so for us with allergies, that's pretty bad, and yeah, just to reiterate that question that Savard asked, United Cannabis, we're buyers under $1.25. Right now it's at 89 cents. It's at a great price right now. A lot of the portfolios that we started accumulating, man, we've got the overall cost. And this is the advantage of building over time. When a stock gives you time to build, like United Cannabis, the new pick and stuff like that. We've got our cost average, man. A lot of the portfolios are cost averages right out of that 90 cents and stuff. That's a great price for this stock. Go read about it, Actually, don't go read about it. If you click the link, we have a United Cannabis report that you can get. In fact, I'm going to send that out to the group, So let's see here on the comments. Hi today. Sure, we're Raj. Great. United Cannabis. Yeah, Marco, welcome. Roland, welcome. Nick, welcome. Tala, welcome. All the way from the North Shore, Hawaii. It's Friday night, so look, if everybody's done with the questions, you guys can go start your weekend and stuff. You guys that are members, checking in the group. We'll be posting information all weekend long. This weekend, we're a very active weekend because there's a lot going on in the market. We ended up with the market, man. Wasn't that a cool market day? The NASDAQ was blood red at the open. The Dow was blood red at the open. The S&P was blood red at the open. Guess what? 2 out of 3 closed green. Nice buying. The bulls really, really are showing some power this week, especially with all that. That's my Palisana. But especially with all the news cycle and stuff, right? I mean, we came out of the weekend with that G7 and that North Korean summit, and the news cycle was really, really rough, and this market was just so resilient. I mean, it just shows there's a lot of bulls in there. So you gotta be able to, before we close this up for the week, let's talk about this. Now, you got to be able to identify markets. That's a big part of being a smart trader and a good trader and a successful trader, is being able to identify markets. You hear it all the time, the mantra BTFD, right? BTFD. What's that mean? Buy the effing dip. Now, look, what happens is, excuse me, I got a comment there. What happens is you need to identify, is it a crash or is it the buy the dip? Well, which one is it? It looks like in these situations with the buying and stuff in the market getting this support, looks like it's a buy the dip. But you need to be able to identify these things to properly assess your forward trades. Because if it's not a buy the dip, guess what? You're buying into a crash, and then you're just going to end up losing all your money. So, look, if there's no more questions, we're going to call it a show. We're going to call it a week. It was a great week. Even this morning with the markets having all those struggles in the morning, all that news cycle, guess what? They closed green except for the Dow. Dow's just the window dressing anyways. So look, we will be back Monday with our show, and you guys have a great weekend. Everyone have a very, very good weekend, and thank you very much for your support. Don't forget, if you're interested in getting involved, stockpickprofits.com. All right, we'll talk soon. Aloha.